Good day to you, YouTube. My name is Derek Broad and I'm your guide and host. Welcome back to the Gentleman's Corner. In today's video we are going to be talking about one of the most integral parts of being a gentleman, and that is concerning etiquette and manners. Now, I've noticed a lot of things in my time on this earth, and one of them is merely that a lot of people just don't know the difference between etiquette and manners. In some ways they are synonymous, but there are some very distinct differences between the two, and I'm going to be going over that today. Not only will I be going over the difference between etiquette and manners, but I will also be giving you certain tips and tricks in order to improve yours. Now, before we get into the tips and tricks in order to improve your etiquette and manners, I think it's appropriate that we start out with the difference between the two first. Now, I've done a little bit of research, and I figured out that the primary difference between etiquette and manners is simply enough between practice and just kind of code of practice, if you understand what I mean. Google defines etiquette as the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. So pretty much what that's saying is that that etiquette is a certain pretty much rule book that that dictates societal interaction as well as presentability and various other things. Etiquette boomed sort of in the Victorian era and kind of that era of England as well as Europe. It has taken a little bit of a downturn now, but I'm trying to do my best in order to kind of give it a little bit of a resurgence. Okay, now that we've defined etiquette, it's probably best if we define manners as well. Now, manners is defined by Google, again, as a person's outward bearing or way of behaving towards others, or polite or well-bred social behavior. So, coming from that, we can pretty much determine that manners is just etiquette in practice. It is your actions of following these societal rules of propriety and presentability, as well as interaction, and etc., etc. So, from those definitions of both etiquette and manners and the explanations, we can pretty much determine that etiquette are the social rules that are set out for propriety, whereas manners are more these rules in practice and the act of being proper. Alright, now that we have the general explanations and definitions for etiquette and manners set out, it's probably best that we get into the tips and tricks in order for you to improve yours. Now, as you guys very well know, I created this channel to help my viewers become as gentlemanly as they possibly can. And, in my personal opinion, manners and etiquette are absolutely essential for you to do that. However, it seems that a lot of these behaviors and a lot of these codes that had been set out earlier have really kind of fallen off. If you look on Google and you define a word in its search bar, it'll come up with a little pop-up box. If you've ever done it before, you've probably noticed. If you go to the show more, it will actually show you the usage of the word over a certain timeline. Now, I did this for both etiquette as well as manners, and I learned something interesting. Etiquette, the use of the word primarily boomed in the mid-1800s to about 1900, so Victorian era England is when this had the most precedence. It maintained its popularity for a few years, and then at around 1910 or so, it took a little dip. It bumped up a little bit for the next about 30 years or so, and then it began to drop off again once you hit about 1950 to present day. The same thing for manners, except we scale it back a little bit, surprisingly enough, and the primary boom of the word manners actually took place around 1800, and the early 1800s, and it has been regressing ever since. Tip number one for improving your etiquette and manners is honestly something that your parents probably should have drilled into you when you were a little kid, but I do see a little bit of a discrepancy in it as I progress throughout the years, and that is honestly just say please and thank you. It is just something that grinds my gears so much. When someone does something for you, say thank you. If you are asking for something, say please. It is general good manners. People will smile and generally like you better for it. And honestly, it's just good practice. Now, this next tip might actually come as a little bit of a surprise to you, but it really shouldn't. And honestly, good manners is accentuated by having good hygiene and taking care of yourself. Manners and etiquette are primarily these guidelines and these codes in order for you to determine propriety in social interaction. However, I don't think that it's exactly proper in social interaction if you're giving the person that you are associating with E. coli. So, honestly, just take care of yourself, and that's just going to be an excellent boost to your manners either way. The next tip is honestly, be kind and be courteous. You're going to get so much farther in this world by being nice to people, honestly. So much of our everyday lives are based on our interactions with other people, and we are going to be able to get so much farther in that if we are actually able to display these behaviors and these manners that have indeed fallen off in today's society, and when people see that, they're just generally going to be more open to you. On the flip side of courtesy, honestly, realize that you're not the king of the universe. Sometimes other people's needs are going to come before yours, and just in order to maintain your gentlemanliness, being kind and courteous is one of the #1 ways to go. The next tip on the list is honestly, be genuine and be true to your word. I think we can all come to the general consensus that lying to people is just generally not good social practice, and since etiquette and manners are both centered around social practice as well as social interaction and everything like that, we can determine that lying and being ungenuine and etc. is just generally going to butt heads with that. That is not to say that people are never going to lie again in their lives. That is a completely unrealistic expectation, and that is also not to say that sometimes lying can be appropriate to a certain situation. However, in general, it's just best to be honest, be genuine, and just mean what you say and say what you mean. The next and final tip on the list is honestly going to be concerning netiquette. Now, for those of you that don't know what netiquette is, it's the newest branch of etiquette, and that is going to be, that is kind of like the societal rule book and the determinants of how you should behave while you're on the internet. You see so many people out there, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, whatever the case may be, and honestly, gentleman is just generally not the first word that comes to mind, and you see people using a lot of profane language and being very hateful and spiteful and everything like that. I can't take away your freedom of expression, but that does not mean that I have to agree with your opinions when I see them. Try and censor yourself on the internet. If you know, as a general rule, if you know that your opinion is going to offend somebody, for your own safety and so you don't get berated, I would advise you keeping it to yourself, and honestly, just, we all bleed red at the end of the day. Really. Gentlemen, that is all that I have for you guys today. I really enjoyed doing all of these videos for you guys, and I am so glad that you guys come over to my channel and help me achieve my goals and are willing to listen to me just sit here and talk. However, that is etiquette and manners. What's the difference? And some tips and tricks in order to improve yours. Etiquette and manners are honestly such ginormous topics that I can go into them to the absolute nth degree. I will be posting future videos concerning, like, for example, some of the crazy etiquette rules that you guys need to know. Also, like, proper netiquette, and I will be getting into, like, that a little bit more in a future video as well. However, I am just rambling on right now, so thank you very much for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe right down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. As always, have a nice day.